Hey guys, welcome back, or welcome if you're new to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be making 3 different Halloween projects with my Cricut using Tech Wrap Craft vinyls. They recently sent me some new vinyl rolls from their collection to test out, so that's what we're going to be doing today, is testing out these new vinyls while having some fun and getting festive with the Cricut. For the first DIY, I'm going to be using this Dollar Tree vase and this black reflective vinyl roll, and we're going to be making a candy jar. For the second DIY, I'm going to be making a glow-in-the-dark sign using these 2 glow-in-the-dark colors, and then this Dollar Tree blank sign. And then for the third DIY, I'm going to be making a color-changing wine glass using a Dollar Tree wine glass, and then red and green color changing vinyl, which I'm especially excited about because I've never used color changing vinyl before, and so I'm super excited to try these out. If you're interested in trying out some of these vinyls for yourself, I will leave the link in the description box down below. Just go ahead and expand it. And with that being said, let's get started. All right, so I'm in Cricut Design Space, and I went ahead and picked out all of the designs I wanted to use ahead of time just to save time on this video. So I'm going to go over here to Images, and I'm going to type in which better have my candy. I thought that was cute for a candy jar. So it's right here, and this is a Cricut Access image. So you will only have this available to you if you are a Cricut Access member. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to the canvas, and I'm going to just resize this down to about a little over 4 inches. So that looks good right there. And it's ready to go. It's already black, which is the color that I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to click Make It. And then I'm going to click Continue. And I'm going to set my base material to vinyl, but I'm going to change the pressure to less. I've used Tech Wrap vinyls before, and most of them I've noticed the less pressure setting works the best, but this is a different kind of vinyl, so I'm hoping that this setting will be the best for this vinyl as well. So I have that done. Now I'm going to go ahead and load my material onto my mat. All right, so now moment of truth, we're gonna see how that less pressure setting did. It doesn't look like it went through both the carrier sheet and here, let me actually adjust this, but I like to peel off the mat from the vinyl. It prevents this from curling, and it looks like that setting was perfect because it didn't cut all the way through. It just did a kiss cut. So let's see if it went, yeah, so it looks like it did that perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and weed this out real quick. All right, so now I'm just going to weed my design, and I'm going to be using some weeding tools out of this set that I purchased off of Amazon. I will link this down below as well for you guys. And then I'm just using a lint roller from Dollar Tree to pick up all of the little extra scraps, and I like to weed from the inside out. So all of the little loops inside the little loops for the letters is how I like to weed. All right, so we have the decal weeded out. So now it's time to apply the transfer tape and then put it on the vase. Now that my design is weeded out, it's time to apply the transfer tape. So I'm actually going to, just gonna flip it over, but I'm going to apply it like this, kind of just fold it in half and then let it fall. I'm going to take my Cricut scraper I'm gonna do both sides. And before I even think about applying this to the glass, I need to clean it. So I like to use these alcohol prep pads. I get them in like a pack of 100 at Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to clean the glass, and it needs to air dry for a couple of minutes. I'm going to remove the backing from the transfer tape. I like to, I just think it works better and it comes off so clean. So I just remove that. I'm gonna give this a couple more minutes to air dry before I apply it. So a little trick I like to also use the lint roller for is to hold curved objects from moving around while I'm trying to apply the decal. And I'm going to cut some slits in this. This is another little trick that you can do when working like on a wine glass or a coffee mug or any sort of curved surface, is just to cut like flexing slits in the decal. So I'm going to go ahead and I actually have to stand up to see. Hopefully my hair doesn't get in the way. Just going to place that down and then just begin placing the decal on. And there might be some bubbles, but you can always smooth those out. I like to use my fingers first and then go back with my Cricut tool. So it can be kind of tricky, again, working with a curved surface, but once you get the hang of it, it gets a little bit easier. You just kind of have to play around with it and manipulate it with your fingers and use those little slits and kind of readjust. So now I'm going to use my little scraper and go over all of those. Like that part right there, it looks like it's coming up. So let's go ahead and start peeling back and see what we have, and just go slow at an angle. And you can see where it's starting to come up, and then you can kind of just go back over and run your fingers over it. So. Oh, that looks so cool already. Okay. So like right here, there's a little bubble. Not a big deal. I have a little bit of a bubble right here. Most of the time you can just smooth it out with your fingers. But that's how it turned out. Now let's go ahead and fill it up with some candy corn and some lights. So now it's time to fill up the vase with some candy corn and some lights. I got these cute LED lights from Dollar Tree. So there's some pumpkins, some skeletons, and then some purple bats, which I'm going to be using. I just think they would look the best with the color contrast of the candy corn. And I had purchased 2 bags of candy corn from Dollar Tree, and it wasn't enough to fill the vase. So my husband was at the store and I was like, hey, pick up some candy corn for me, please. And he was like, ew, gross, why? And I'm like, it's for a DIY. And he was like, say no more. So I have 3 bags of candy corn also from Albertsons. So I'm gonna go ahead and start by putting the lights, some lights down, and then pouring some candy corn in and kind of just feeding them through a little bit at a time, I guess. And then the lights should poke through a little bit. So that looks good. I just want to make sure I leave enough to hide this behind something. So I think to fill this vase up. Another idea is to maybe use like a little LED candle in the center and then kind of wrap the candy corn around that. But I just think that's so adorable, and you can kind of see the little bats poking through. And there it is, you guys. This turned out so cute. And in the light, like in bright light, this vinyl has like this reflective holographic look to it. It's kind of hard to tell right now because it's in the evening, but I think this turns out really cute. What do you guys think? All right, now I'm gonna work on the next project, which is the glow-in-the-dark sign. So I'm gonna go over here to shapes and select the square shape, and I'm going to make a template just so I can get an idea of what my sign is going to look like. So I'm going to unlock it and then change the width to 5.5 inches by 20 inches. That is the workable area that I measured out. I'm just going to zoom out. Then I'm going to go over to images, and then I'm going to search for Boo. And I found this really cute design, and I think it was meant to be like a front door or like front porch sign because it's huge. So I'm going to add that to the canvas, and you can see it's like 56 inches long. So right away I'm going to change that to 20 inches. Then I'm going to go over here, unlock it so that I can change the width to 5.5. And then it fits perfectly on the template, and I'm going to change the color. I think I want this one to be that orange or coral glow-in-the-dark color, so I'm going to change that, but I also want to add some ghosts to it. I just think it needs ghosts. So I'm going to go over here again to images and search for ghosts, and just find a couple of cute little guys and then add them to the canvas. So I really like this one, and maybe this one. So I'm going to add the 3 of those there, and I'm going to right away I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to change the color to green because that's going to be the color of the ghosts. And I'm just going to play around with the placement on these and figure out what I want, how big I want them to be. So that looks good. So I really like that. So now I can go ahead and delete, drag this over and delete the template because I don't actually need that. Then I'm going to go over to make it. And it says up here, at least one of your images is larger than 11.5 inches for my 12 by 12 mat, and I do have a 12 by 24 mat. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then continue. And again, I'm going to choose the vinyl setting, but less pressure. And then I'm going to go ahead and load my orange color changing vinyl onto my 12 by 24 mat. All right, so I have my material loaded on my 12 by 24 mat. Now I'm just going to load it into my machine and press go. All right, so now I'm loading the second color and cut. All right, so I'm not sure if you guys can see this or not because the lighting is terrible, but the Cricut cut the material just fine. That's not the issue, but the issue is I didn't dust off my housing. My Cricut has been sitting for a while, and so I think what happened was when my Cricut was reading like the cut lines and it was scanning, some dust or dirt got on the material, so it kind of made an outline of the spider web at the bottom, but hopefully we won't be able to see it once the project is done. But that's just a reminder that I need to clean out my Cricut every once in a while and use like an air duster to dust it out. So I'm just gonna go ahead and weed this out real quick, and then we can get started on applying it to the sign. So I wanted to point out really quickly that you need to have some pretty good lighting when you're trying to weed this. As you can see, I nicked it right here because I thought I was weeding out the little circle, and it's kind of hard to see the cut lines. I don't have like a bright pad or anything, so just make sure you have good lighting when you're working with this so you don't nick your design. I did it a couple times, but I'm gonna go ahead and work on the ghosts real quick. Okay, so now it's time to apply the transfer tape and then get these on my Dollar Tree sign. All right, so I have my transfer tape cut out. So because this is such a big piece, instead of taking all of the transfer tape off at once, I'm gonna start with a little bit and then just kind of roll it out, kind of the same way you would apply like contact paper or shelf liner, and kind of just smooth it out and roll it out with your hands. And then I'm going to take my Cricut tool and if you see parts coming up, just go back, use your scraper tool or your fingers to kind of hold it down. Go at an angle slowly. It's like right here, this little piece is coming up, so just kind of press it down with your fingers. That wants to fly away. He wants to come away with the back. So just stick him back down. Okay. So now I'm gonna try to do this. So let me make sure I'm in focus. Okay. So I'm going to line up the bottom edge right here with the, oops, the bat's coming off. He is just wanting to fly away with me. Okay. So I'm gonna line the bottom edge up as much as possible, like that. And then I'm just going to do this, and perfect. Okay. So I'm I'm just gonna make sure this is all nice and adhered well. I'm gonna start peeling. I already know this is gonna be super bright when you turn off the lights. I think this would be awesome for a front porch sign. So my ghosts are like this, and I don't need this huge piece, but I also don't need to cut and use a brand new piece of transfer tape. I can just reuse some of this. So I'm just gonna cut a piece off. And then I'm going to just kind of go one at a time, and I don't need that excess piece either. Set that aside. All right, so now let's go see what this looks like when we turn the lights off. All right, so I'm back in Design Space to work on my third and final project, which is the wine glass. So I'm gonna go over here to images, and I found this really cute design. I'm here for the booze, which is so fitting for a wine glass. So I'm gonna choose that. And then I also wanna add some ghosts to this as well. So I'm just going to search ghosts, and I found this cute little guy, so I'm gonna add him to the canvas as well. And I decided just to use the green color changing vinyl instead of both the red and green, just because I feel like those are Christmas colors, a Christmas color combination. So I'm gonna go ahead and save the red color changing vinyl for a Christmas project. So I'm gonna resize this to about 3.5 inches. And then I'm going to resize the ghost to about 1.5 inches, and then duplicate him maybe 4 or 5 times. And then I'm going to drag over both, and then I'm going to change the color to green, and then I'm going to click Make It. And this is how I'm going to load my vinyl onto my mat. Of course, I could change that up a little bit and move this around, but however it looks on this screen is how I want to load my vinyl onto the mat. So I'm going to click continue, and again I'm going to change the pressure on the vinyl setting to less. And then now let's go over to the Cricut and watch the machine cut the design. Before we start cutting, I wanted to point out that there is a clear protective layer on the color changing vinyl that you need to remove. There was a little tag on there on the roll, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that protective layer and then put it in the machine. And just like with the glow-in-the-dark vinyl, this vinyl is, you need good lighting to be able to see your design. All right, so now I have my designs weeded out, and it was a little bit easier instead of working from the inside out to take off the excess first around the edges, because this vinyl is a little bit hard to see, kind of like the glow-in-the-dark vinyl. So I'm going to start again by prepping my wine glass with an alcohol swab. And while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and apply my transfer tape. And just like with the candy jar, I'm going to cut little slits in this. Start peeling once everything is down. And I'll go back and fix this bee in a second. And all the parts that have little bubbles in them, I'll go back and fix those. I think this is wanting to come up. Okay, so now I'm just going to run my fingers over those little bubbles to smooth them out as much as possible. And you can even take some little tweezer tools and readjust it that way, just kind of being careful not to rip your design. So now you can go back and flatten it out with your tools. Okay, so that looks pretty good right there. Now I'm gonna work on the ghosts. And because I tore up my transfer tape with cutting the slits, I'm gonna take out a new piece of transfer tape. So adorable. And now I'm just going to randomly place these little ghosts on here. All right, so now I'm gonna go fill this up with some cold water. I don't have any wine on hand, but just imagine it's Chardonnay or Sauvignon Blanc or something. All right, guys, so that was the 3 different Halloween projects I came up with to test out some of TechWrapCraft's new vinyls in their collection. And I must say, I really love the color changing vinyl and the glow in the dark vinyl. I can't wait to do some more projects with those vinyls. But I also want to mention that so far, all of the different kinds of vinyls that I've used by TechWrapCraft have cut very well in the Cricut machine and have been very easy to weed and work with. So overall, I'm impressed by all of the vinyls that I've tried so far. And again, if you want to test out some of these vinyls for yourself, I will leave the link to the website down in the description box. And if you like this video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up, and also subscribe on your way out if you aren't currently subscribed to my channel for more crafty content and Cricut videos. Until my next video, I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching.